Hello everyone, namaste and greetings from beautiful land of Nepal. I am proud to be here to explain about my job and how I am working with Chinese volunteers. Because I have a deep love to children and people of the country, I decide to do what I can give them a better future. Part of my job includes to introduce people the amazing land of Nepal. Although I love my country a lot, there are many people suffering from underdevelopment. But we believe education is the key to the problems. The COVID 19 has made the situation not in favor. Therefore, we have designed online teaching courses in order to compensate to the children. Today, in my lecture, I want to introduce first about myself, and after that, we will talk many more things. In my introduction, my name is Matrika Rizal. I am 51 years old, Nepali citizen. I hold master's degree in management and I am a lecturer, especially for foreigners, volunteers and expats. This is my specialization. I am happily married with Nepali wife and we have two children. My son now he is 17 years old. He is studying computer science in 12th class. And my daughter, she's studying in class 7 and she's 12 years old. And my parents, my father, my mother, they live in Bhaktapur. Bhaktapur is a small town near Kathmandu. It's a very beautiful town, so many temples and very cultural happenings in that town. If you ever come to Nepal, you must visit there because it's really beautiful and it is listed in the World Heritage Site also. And my only one sibling, my brother, he lives in America with his family, his wife and two children. Now he became an American citizen. So, my profession is running volunteering programs, especially for foreigners in Nepal. I'm doing this job for more than 25 years. I started in 1994 as a language and cultural facilitator to the foreigners, especially from the developed country, the people who come to Nepal. They come here to work and they have to study Nepali language and study about the cultural things. So I was a lecturer. I did that job for 10 years. I worked with several different organizations that time, and most of the organizations were related to the United Nations, like ILO, FAO, and other. And I also worked with UMN, United Mission to Nepal. They had several programs in Nepal, like they used to build schools, hospitals, hydroelectricity power, like that. That was the foreign aid. And then those people who come to work there from America, from Europe, from Australia or Japan. So I was the language and cultural facilitator that time. And most of the time I worked with British people. And there was one organization called SPW, School Partnership Worldwide. That was the UK-based organization. And that time, the volunteers, they were college students, like 17, 18 years old volunteers. They used to come here in two seasons, winter and summer, and they used to live here like about 3 months, 4 months, like that. And I was the facilitator. I worked with them for 8 years that time. And I also work with Dutch people. The organization from the Dutch government, it was called SNV that time. So the people who used to come to Nepal from the Netherlands, I used to facilitate them as a lecturer, language and cultural, mainly that. And I also took a training from Peace Corps. Peace Corps is one American government organization. They send volunteers all over the world. And in Nepal also, they used to have their programs, mainly teachers. And the interesting thing about Peace Corps is That was the first volunteering organization which came to Nepal from abroad, and mainly English teachers. They used to come here and live in the very rural areas of Nepal. So this Nepali language and cultural facilitating, this kind of facility, they develop in Nepal by the Peace Corps. The Peace Corps was established very long time ago after Second World War, and still they have programs. So this is my little bit work history. I said you. Right now, I am involved with Volunteer Service and Support Nepal (VSSN), and I am a chairman of this organization. And we are running program since 2004. Until now, we are running programs for foreigners. Uh, so from last 5 years, I'm working with Chinese volunteers. I had very wonderful experience working with Chinese volunteer teachers. We had very fruitful time working together. In my profession, my main duties are coordinating and facilitating volunteer teachers to work in schools as a volunteer. Our Chinese volunteers especially focus on teaching Chinese language and culture. I provide teachers training so that volunteers feel comfortable teaching to Nepali kids in the schools. I also help volunteers going for sightseeing and arranging logistic support in Nepal. So I'm doing this job with Chinese volunteer for last 5 years, and also I'm parallelly I'm working together with European, American, Australian volunteers, and even from Japan. We have groups coming um, to work in Nepal. But right now, all the volunteer program has stopped because of the COVID-19, and hopefully it will resume soon. So in today's lecture, I want to explain some topics, and there are about six different topics that I want to explain to you. Number one is Nepal culture in Nepal, and introduction to VSSN, Volunteer Service and Support Nepal, VSSN and Chinese volunteers, how we are working, education system in Nepal, COVID-19 impacts, and our programs, what kind of programs we are running, that I will explain. The first, I want to explain you about Nepal. Okay, Nepal has about 17% flat land. It is called Tarai. We have three different landscapes, one flat land, one hilly land, and another mountain, like mountains, like Himalaya. These three lands we have. The 17% is the flat land. It is called Tarai, which is near the Indian border. And 68% hilly area we have, hills, which is in the middle of the country. And 15% Himalaya. The Himalaya, after Himalaya, there is China, Tibet, and China. The border is there. So there are 8 tallest Himalaya peaks out of 14 are in Nepal, which are above 8,000 meters high. So for the climbers, this is a paradise. This country is paradise for the mountain climbers because there are like 8 tallest mountain of the world that are situated here. We also have some famous wildlife conservation area which are famous for tigers and rhinoceros and elephants and so many other wild animals. Uh, for the tourist, there is one very famous near Kathmandu. It's about 200 kilometers. It's called Chitwan National Park, that famous for the tourist. And if you go to the west, there is Bardia National Park, which is much bigger. There are so many rhinos and tigers. And there are several other. If you go to eastern part, Kosi Tapu, there are bird watching. There are so many varieties of birds are there. And there are so many small national parks are also in the hilly areas. So Nepal is very rich in the forest and then wild animal preservation and then the jungle preservation. There are other many famous spots which are listed in the World Heritage Site. So history of Nepal itself is very long history, and then the different dynasty they ruled in Nepal long time ago. If you come to Kathmandu Valley, you will see Malla dynasty palaces, temples, and other cultural activities from the Malla dynasty. You can see that, and beautiful wood carving, stone carving, and metal carvings you can see. There are some famous places like Kathmandu Darbar Square, Bhaktapur Darbar Square, Patan Darbar Square, and there is some Buddhist monuments like Swayambhu and Bodhanath. These are very famous in Kathmandu. And also, the Lord Buddha was born in Nepal, in Lumbini, which is near Indian border. So that place also very famous for tourists. Very nice area. So in Nepal, we have several religion. Most of Nepali people follow Hindu and Buddhist religion. Also, there are minor number of Muslim and Christians. There are about 80% Hindu people and 10% Buddhist, and other 10% includes Muslim, Christian, Jain, Sikh, like that. Hindu is a flexible religion and not very strict. So we won't find very strict religious rules and nothing strict culture. So Hinduism is very uh, easy religion, so any people can adjust with us, and there is no problem. And also Buddhism, also very nice and religion that is practiced in Nepal, and we all religious people we live together, Muslim and Christian also we are living together without any problem. In Nepal is a very small country if you see in the world geographic, but inside Nepal there are many different ethnic groups and about 30 languages spoken by those ethnic groups. There are some famous ethnic groups like Newar, Magar, Rai, Tamang, Gurung, Limbu, Maithili, Bhojpuri. These are the different ethnic group of people, and they have their own languages. So altogether, there are 30 languages. And if you check the dialects, like each language has different dialects. Like Eastern people, even Nepali language in the East, they speak little bit different than the West. So if you count the dialects, there are more than 100 dialects spoken in Nepal. There are some festivals which are celebrated all over Nepal, as like Dasai, Tihar, Holi, Shivaratri. These are the few example of festivals, but we have so many of them. Okay. Nepali people, we have some variety of food that we eat, like dal bhat is eaten by all Nepali people. Every Nepali people, they love this dal bhat. Dal bhat is mainly rice and lentil soup and vegetables and sometimes meats. Every day, 2 times, in the morning and evening, every family, they cook dal bhat. And some family in Tarai area, they eat roti, which is the flat bread. So if you come to Nepal, you must try that dal bhat, which is very interesting. And the meat eating habit is not that too much. People eat meat maybe once in a week or 2 times in a week, not that much. Chicken and goat meat is eaten by all Nepali. So goat meat is most delicious meat in Nepal, bit expensive also. And chicken is found everywhere. And some people eat buffalo meat, especially in Kathmandu Valley, the people, ethnic group Newar people, and they eat buffalo meat. And pork is eaten by other ethnic groups like Rai, Tamang, Limbu, Gurung. Those people, they like pork meat. And The restaurant foods are also famous, like momo. Momo is very famous in the restaurants. In every restaurant, they serve momo. Momo is kind of dumpling in China, but the taste is slightly different in Nepal. And then the seafood. Maybe in China you guys eat seafood a lot, but in Nepal we don't have sea. We don't access to the sea. Therefore, not that famous. But even though you can find sometime a little bit of seafood in the market and supermarket, um, but fish you can find everywhere, but not from the ocean. It comes from the river and pond. The fish is also eaten. In this language, in this cultural session, I want to introduce little bit of the language part. So, when we meet each other, we do namaste. This is a greeting, namaste. You have to put your both hands like this and do namaste. This means hi, hello, good morning, good afternoon, good night, whatever. So the main translation of the namaste is it comes from Sanskrit language. In Sanskrit, it is said namostute. That means namo means the God, tute means inside you. So I salute the God which is inside you. That means namaste. So when you meet some people, anytime you can say namaste. And when you are departing from the people, you can also say namaste. So, and here I want to introduce few sentences which is really important. Like when you introduce yourself, when you say your name, we say like this in Nepali. Mero naam John ho. That means my name is John. Mero naam Matrika ho. My name is Matrika. And you can say Mero desh China ho. My country is China. Mero desh Nepal ho. My country is Nepal. Dhanyabad. That means thank you. Dhanyabad. Dhanyabad. Tapaiलाई swagat cha. You are welcome. Tapaiलाई swagat cha. You are welcome. So, as I said you before that I work with VSSN, Volunteer Service and Support Nepal. This is a Nepali-owned local organization, and it is a non-governmental organization. It's called NGO. There are so many NGOs in Nepal. In different sector they work. And my sector, my organization sector is especially foreign volunteers who come to work in Nepal. This is our specialization. So all the NGOs who are in Nepal, actually they support the government in development sector. Nepal is one of the poorest country in the world that is listed, and Nepal government cannot support everywhere. Therefore, they give license to the NGOs to work mainly in the development, like education, health, and other social issues, environment, like that. So our organization, Volunteer Service and Support Nepal, mainly we are working in education and health sector. VSSN is Nepal-based, Nepali community-owned volunteering organization dedicated to providing year-round volunteering programs for international volunteers to interact in development process. It is established to help Nepali society in mainly education and health issues for children and women. And our mission and vision. Our mission is, volunteers' mission is to provide volunteering programs for international volunteers to interact in the development process by involving in different activities. VSSN aims to support to enrich the lives of less fortunate children and women, mainly education and health issues. Our vision is we believe that well prepared and good guided volunteers combining with well managed program can make very positive changes in the society. Working with Chinese volunteers in these 5 years, we have achieved our mission. So VSSN is working with Chinese volunteers, and in last 5 years, we have received thousands of volunteers in groups, in different groups. With Chinese volunteers, VSSN has been doing programs like teaching in classrooms, environment protection, classroom painting, fun activities for children like dancing, singing, cooking, painting, games, etc. So, working with Chinese volunteers, we have received very good result. Chinese volunteers are one of the most important volunteer group for BSSN. Volunteers have brought positive changes to local education through their efforts, and then long-term international volunteer activities have reflected in Commonwealth character. So we have received a very good result from Chinese volunteers. They are very hardworking. They have done really nice activities in the schools. They have given very good impact in our schools and teachers and society. So now I want to explain a little bit about the education system in Nepal. So when I explain about the education system, I must say about the types of the schools. There are basically three types of schools there in Nepal. In general, education system in Nepal is not satisfying. There are private and public schools. So there we have private schools and public schools. In private schools, there are also three types of private schools. One type of private school is very, very expensive. Expensive. We cannot afford. Normal people cannot afford. This is for very rich people and really expensive. So our volunteers are not working there. And then second type, the middle level, which is for higher middle class people. The second type school is also for the higher middle class, meaning the parents and they can pay enough amount of money to the schools. And there are third basic level schools which are affordable for mid class people. So our volunteers, we take them to the middle basic level of the schools, which is not expensive. And the children, they are considered as less fortunate. So we want to give our support to them. That's why we are working in the basic level schools in Kathmandu and Pokhara. We run in two cities these programs. So we are working there. The private school is like that. So government schools, they are also called public schools. Government schools are all over Nepal, everywhere. That is run by the government, and they are not too bad. They are okay. The government has invested a lot of money to develop their infrastructure and pay teachers. So teachers are paid by the government, and then the salary is really good. All government schools have their own buildings, and teachers are permanent and well paid compared to basic level private schools. So here I want to say a little bit of the problem of the education system. The government has given the full effort to the for the development of children, but somehow they are not working well. The teachers are well paid, but they're also permanent, so government cannot fire them easily. So the teachers becomes lazy and then not giving good education. That's the problem. Our volunteers, they also go to the government school and private schools. Both places we take them to improve the education system and then to give the better facility to the children from our Chinese volunteers, which is really important. And actually, there are third type of school also exist. They are called community-owned schools. They are like half government and half private, and they are a little bit better than the government schools. So, uh, the English level of education is provided by the private schools. So all the parents they want to take their children to study English mainly in the private schools. But in the government schools, they also have English subject, but not enough, and they cannot provide better education. Maybe they lack of trainings, and then the teachers. They are not giving their full effort. That's why government schools are not that good. Generally, in Nepal, private school focus on English medium education, which are considered better than the public schools. English is taught from the beginning, from playgroup. Teachers try to speak English with the children. When children reach in grade 4, they can make basic English communication easily. In public schools, English speaking habit is not as good at the private schools. So, there are some challenges that we have pointed out here. The major problem of the government schools are teaching technique and teachers' quality and effort is not enough. Somehow, schools exist all over Nepal, but the quality is not competitive at all. Some public schools in the city area are good, but in rural areas, almost all public schools cannot provide quality. They just exist there. Few public schools are extraordinarily good, which are doing well, but it is very rare examples. Nowadays, only lower economic class people's children go to the public schools. Other all go to the private schools and private sector, which is providing better education. So nowadays, there is a big problem. Public schools, government schools, they are empty, kind of. All the parents who have little money, they take their children to the private schools. And the government schools, the number of children are decreasing. But government is investing a lot of money. So this is a problem. So our suggestion is government should improve the public schools so that all the children they can get free education. Actually, government schools is providing free. There is no school fee. But even though there are no children because of the quality of the education. So now I want to explain a little bit about COVID-19 effect. So general impact of COVID-19. On March 19, 2020, the Ministry of Health and Population of Nepal issued a public statement acknowledging that the epidemic situation in Nepal is out of control and facing the risk of total collapse. So situation was much better and schools were open in last 2 months from now. But now the new variant of COVID-19 called Omicron has increased in the world and in Nepal also. Now schools are closed again from last week and we are waiting to see what will happen. So 2 years ago in March 19, the first COVID-19 hit the world and also Nepal. So schools were closed 10 months and later schools were reopened. For the last 2 months they were running, but now again schools are closed. So today is January 16. So schools will close another 15 days and the government has announced that, but later we don't know what will happen because of this Omicron virus. So general impact is recently government has started distributing vaccine to schools and Children are getting it from last week. Government started giving the vaccine to the children from 12 years old to 18 years old. They have focused right now. Hopefully, 50% of children will be vaccinated in 1 month. Let's hope. So there is a bad impact in the education sector. During pandemic, schools were closed about 10 months. Life was normal until last week, but now again schools closed. In Europe and America, there is not good situation, therefore that may spread to Nepal also. We cannot say anything about near future, but right now there are about 5,000 new cases. That has increased a lot from last week. 2 weeks ago, only 150, 200 people used to caught by COVID-19, but now it increased to 5,000 and few people are dying every day. So situation is not that good. So there are several challenges. Small kids are easily distracted from the online classes. So um, device and internet access are hard to have. So when schools were closed, there was online classes ran by some schools. In villages, it is not possible because there is no good internet, and people they cannot afford laptop or mobile smartphone devices. But in city areas, during the pandemic, schools they encourage children to do the online classes. Um, so. Uh, but it was not that effective. The online classes was not that effective. Government school could not run online classes because children come from poor families and they don't have internet access. In city areas like Kathmandu Valley, Pokhara, Naranghat, or Viratnagar, private schools ran online classes. Some private schools can conduct very good online classes, and they used Google Classroom. So Google Classroom is very famous, and most of the schools they were using that. But small schools they used Zoom or Meet, those online portals. So there are some challenges of the online classes. Some kids are easily distracted. Online class was effective for elder children who are above 12 years old, but for smaller kids, it was not that much effective. Teachers were teaching online classes from their home, and online classes were not so much serious like real classrooms. For small children, it was much less effective because they distracted easily and played mobile games. Some parents were monitoring the children during online classes, which was okay. In conclusion, my assumption is that about 30% of whole Nepali kids use online classes and only 10% was effective. So our online classroom program, in our mission, we are looking for. So far, we have already received over 100 lessons recordings from our volunteers from June to November last year. In the previous courses, our volunteers have introduced various topics, including Chinese festivals, food features in different regions, daily expressions, and Chinese traditional lectures, etc. These online courses have been well received by local students. Our volunteers have not only made up for the lack of the educational resources due to the pandemic, but also helped local students to broaden their horizons. So our mission for 2022 is to prevent disadvantaged children falling further behind in the wake of the pandemic, to establish a term of strong volunteers teachers who may want to give their time to help schools to make good and learning losses experienced by the disadvantaged and vulnerable children. Volunteers are going to public schools and basic level private schools both. We choose those schools where less fortunate children study who come from lower income families so that they can get benefit from the international exposures. Our focus group of students are grade 4 to 9. The children are 9 years to 15 years old group. That is our focus. Class. Each class will consist of 50 children. Class hours. Each lessons will last for 40 to 45 minutes. Classes will occur from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. There will be a 2-hour break from 12 noon to 2 p.m. Classes will be held on Friday to Sunday for a period of 3 to 4 weeks. Actually, only one day, Saturday, is holiday in Nepal. Class structure. Live online lessons are listening to a recording of a lesson. Fun games will be held between classes, including arts and crafts, mathematical games, and music and dancing. When our volunteers are making lesson plans, they can pick up any subject, but it should be educational, useful, and interesting. So, impacts. Children have course books in schools, and it is rare that teachers do different activities like classrooms, games, and extra knowledge activities. However, from our Chinese volunteers, children are learning different kind of creative extra activities and educational knowledge. The teachers are very satisfied with our volunteers' help. This program is very much welcomed and liked in the schools because children are having much fun and receiving unique kind of knowledge from our volunteers, from our Chinese volunteers. It has definitely made every positive impression to our school children. So, from our Chinese volunteers, when there was a live classes, when they were able to come to Nepal, we used to conduct classes physically. Our volunteers, they used to stay in a hotel near the school area because they have to stay in a hotel because there is a big group. Like in one group, we used to receive 20 to 30 children, volunteers, and we divide them in a smaller groups, like 3 people or 4 people, sometimes 2 people in one group, and we prepare lesson plan. So in a hotel, we used to prepare lesson plans, and after that, we walk to the school. So school teachers, they provide us schedule. They give us a routine from this time to this time. Now in this class you go and teach. Our volunteers, they have done very satisfying job. They all made lesson plans, and they prepare materials, teaching materials also, and then they go to the classroom, and it was very organized class. Over 1,000 volunteers in these 5 years, they did that. In Pokhara, we work with almost 10 schools. In Kathmandu, almost 15 schools, some privates and some government schools. So that was the physical class that we used to run. Now we are focusing on the online class because of the pandemic. It's not possible to go to the school. So in the online classes, so you can prepare, first you can prepare some lesson plan. So I want to give, in this lecture, I want to give you a little bit idea how to prepare the lesson plan. So when you are making a lesson plan, you have to choose your subject. Which subject you want to make a class or lecture. First, you can choose any topic, like you can choose a language or some cultural topics. It could be anything, some heritage site of China. I used to give one example to everyone. So if you are choosing a topic like the Great Wall of China, for example, this is your topic. So most of the people, they know the Great Wall of China. All over the world, people know Great Wall of China. Children, they also know it, but they don't know in detail. So now when you are making your lesson plan, you have to make that in detail. So we have said that your class should be 40 minutes to 45 minutes. So you have to think about your time. So you have to divide this 40, or let's say 45 minutes time, in three main parts. You have to divide your time. So for example, your subject is the Great Wall of China. That is your subject. Now, you divide your 45 minutes in three parts. First part is introduction, 10 minutes introduction of the Great Wall of China. And here, 25 minutes description. You have to describe the history of the Great Wall of China, because this subject is historical subject. So you have to describe the history, how the Great Wall of China made, who was involved. Okay. And third, you have to put the conclusion part. So first is introduction, description, and conclusion. So you divide your 45 minutes in this three time frame. 10 minutes introduction, 25 minutes description, and another 10 minutes conclusion. So I hope you are understanding what I'm saying. So if your subject is the Great Wall of China, now 10 minutes introduction. Where this is located, how many provinces it touches, who built it, how famous it is. This you can put in 10 minutes. Now in description, 25 minutes, you can give the whole history, how it was built, how many years it took, and what are the famous stories during the building time. There must be some stories. So you can put those stories in this 25 minutes. And last 10 minutes in the conclusion, you can do question answer. But in live class, if the question answer is not possible that time, so you can choose some words, some measure points, and repeat that again. So in this way, you can make one class for 45 minutes. It could be the recording class, or it could be the online class. So after you make that online or recording classes here in Nepal, I go to the school when that school's open, and I will show in the PowerPoint your classrooms. And if it is possible, we will try to do live classes. So that time you can interact. Somehow you can interact with the children in the school. So that part I will help in Nepal, and your part is making the very nice lesson plan. So you can include pictures, some games also, some very interesting thing that you can make in your PowerPoint lesson plan, and then you do the video lecture like what I'm doing right now. So in that way, you can make the lesson plan. So at the end, I want to thank you very much for listening this lecture, and I hope that you will make really nice lectures and video lectures, and I will be able to show that in the schools with the PowerPoint. So I really want to thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you so much, and namaste.